There's a video that circulates every few months on social media. A teenage girl is standing in a meet and greet line. She's been waiting for hours. When she finally gets to the front, she starts crying before she even reaches Billie, just from the proximity of it, just from the realness of the moment finally arriving. She tries to speak and can't. Billie Eilish doesn't step back, doesn't signal to security, doesn't do the practice celebrity move of a quick hug and a photo and a gentle push forward. She steps closer. She holds the girl's face in her hands, she looks directly at her and says, quietly, "I see you. You're okay. I'm right here." The girl cries harder. Billie cries too. The photo they take afterward isn't polished. Both of them are red-eyed, tear-streaked, slightly undone. It looks nothing like a professional fan moment. It looks like two human beings who just went through something real together. That video has millions of views, not because it's shocking, because it's true. And that specific quality of truth is what separates Billie Eilish from almost every other artist of her generation. In an era of curated perfection, manufactured relatability, and parasocial performance, she built something genuinely rare, a fan connection that doesn't feel like a transaction. Today, I want to break down exactly how she did it. Not the surface version, not she's just authentic. I want to go deeper. Because what Billie built with her fans is strategic in its own way, even if the strategy was never calculated. It's a set of instincts and choices that created one of the most emotionally loyal fan bases in modern music. Let's get into it. To understand what Billie Eilish did differently, you need to understand what she walked into. The music industry in 2016, when she uploaded Ocean Eyes to SoundCloud at 14, had a very clear template for female artists. Be polished, be aspirational, be slightly out of reach. Give fans enough to feel connected, but maintain the distance that makes you desirable. Be beautiful in a specific, narrow way. Be relatable, but carefully. Let the PR team handle the edges. Billie Eilish ignored every single part of that template. Not as rebellion for rebellion's sake, she simply didn't have the apparatus around her yet to be manufactured. She was a teenager in her brother's bedroom, making music because she loved it, posting it because why not? And by the time the industry came knocking, she had already established a different way of being a public person. The question is, what specifically did she do and why did it work so deeply? The first thing, and maybe the most important, is that Billie Eilish let people watch her be afraid. Most artists, especially young female artists, are coached to project confidence, to seem in control, to never let the audience see you doubt yourself, because doubt reads as weakness, and weakness loses fans. Billie did the opposite. In interviews from her earliest years of fame, she talked openly about her fear, about walking onto stages that felt too big, about reading comments that said she didn't deserve what she had, about nights where the anxiety was so loud she couldn't hear her own thoughts. She didn't clean it up. She didn't wrap it in a redemption arc. She just said, "This is terrifying sometimes, and I'm doing it anyway." For her audience, largely teenagers and young adults navigating their own fears, their own internal noise, their own late nights with thoughts that won't quiet, that wasn't weakness. That was the most courageous thing they'd ever seen a famous person do. Because here's what nobody tells you about vulnerability at scale. It doesn't make you respect them less, it makes you trust them more. When someone famous enough to seemingly have everything still admits to feeling the things you feel in your worst moments, it does something powerful. It tells you that those feelings aren't a sign that you're broken. It tells you that they're just human. Billie Eilish gave an entire generation of fans permission to be scared. That's not a marketing move. That's a gift. Her music went there before she did in interviews, but the music set the template. Copycat, Bury a Friend, Ilomilo, Listen Before I Go. These are not pop songs about parties and heartbreak and getting over it. These are songs about dissociation, suicidal ideation, losing someone to depression, the specific texture of a mind turning against itself. At 14, 15, 16 years old, she was writing about the things most artists don't touch until they're 40 and doing a prestige comeback album with something to prove. Why did that land so hard? Because the teenagers listening to her were living those experiences with almost no cultural representation. The mainstream was telling them to shake it off, to be grateful, to focus on the positive. Billie was sitting down next to them in the dark and saying, "I know this place. I've been here. You're not alone here. The emotional bond that creates is not like normal fan love. It's not admiration from a distance. It's something closer to what you feel for a person who found you in your worst moment and didn't flinch. That's not a fandom. That's a lifeline. And Billie understood the responsibility of that. She never romanticized the darkness. She was careful about that, especially as conversations about mental health and music became more serious. She named the feelings without glorifying them. She sat in the hard place without inviting people to stay there parsing way, but with warmth. She said, "I see you. I know you've been here. Thank you." That fan posted about it. The post went everywhere. Here's what those moments have in common. She treats the people in the room as the point of the experience, not the backdrop to it. She is not performing at her audience, she is performing with them, for them, in real time, responding to what's actually happening rather than executing a pre-planned show and going home. That's rare, genuinely rare, and fans feel the difference in their body. There's something about being truly seen by someone you admire that is physically different from being in the presence of a professional entertainer. Body image, Tourette syndrome, depression, relationship pain, body dysmorphia, the specific misery of reading your own name in headlines that get it everything wrong. Billie has talked about all of it, not in carefully managed press releases, not in strategic interview placements designed to rehabilitate an image. In real time, often when she was still inside the experience, still figuring it out. The body image conversation, when she wore a baggy green hoodie and directly addressed a commentary about her body with a spoken word piece that played on the screens at her concerts, became one of the defining cultural moments of her early career. She didn't wait until she'd healed from it to address it. She addressed it while it was still hurting her. That choice, to speak from inside the wound rather than from the other side of it, is everything. It's the difference between a celebrity sharing a struggle and an artist sharing humanity. The first feels like PR. The second feels like a conversation between equals. Her fans responded to it not just with support, but with their own confessions. Comment sections, fan accounts, fan letters, suddenly full of people sharing their own body image stories, their own experiences of being critiqued for how they looked, their own complicated relationship with their reflection. She didn't just start a conversation, she created a safe container for one. Most artists, once they reach a certain level, start performing gratitude in a way that sounds hollow. Everything is a blessing. The fans are everything. I'm so humbled. Billie Eilish has said explicitly that fame is one of the strangest and sometimes most painful things that has happened to her. She's talked about the loss of anonymity, about not being able to go to a grocery store or sit in a coffee shop or exist in public without being perceived and documented. She's talked about how it changed her relationships, made her paranoid about people's motives, made her grieve a version of herself who could just live quietly. She didn't say this to seem relatable. She said it because it's true. And here's the effect. When fans hear a famous person admit that the thing fans dream about is also genuinely hard, it makes them feel bad for wanting it. It makes them feel closer because it confirms that she's not operating from a different emotional planet. The price of what she has is real. The trade-offs are real. She's a person navigating an extraordinary life, not a symbol performing happiness. That kind of honesty makes the parasocial relationship feel paradoxically less parasocial, more mutual. Back to the meet and greet, back to the girl who couldn't speak. The critical detail in that moment is this. Billie cried too. Not performing empathy, not generating tears because it was expected, she was moved, actually moved by being in the presence of someone who felt that deeply. That capacity to be affected by the people who love your work rather than managing them behind professional distance is vanishingly rare at her level of fame. Most artists, by the time they've reached global stardom, have built walls, not out of coldness, but out of survival. There are so many people, so much need, so much emotion directed at you. You learn to absorb it without letting it through, or it consumes you. Billie hasn't fully built those walls yet. Maybe she never will. Because for her, letting it through seems to be part of the work, not a vulnerability to manage, but a way of honoring what music is supposed to do. When a fan cries in front of her, she doesn't see it as something to handle. She sees it as evidence that something real happened, and she responds to it the way you respond when something real happens, by feeling it too. Strip it all down, and here's what she did. She told the truth about being scared before she told people she was fine. She made music about the dark places without romanticizing them. She stopped mid-show to make sure one person was okay. She talked about the hard parts of fame while she was still inside them. She cried in front of strangers and didn't apologize for it. None of this was calculated, but all of it was a choice. 1,000 small choices made consistently over years to stay open in an industry that rewards closing off. The result is a fan base that doesn't just like her music. They feel genuinely that she is one of them, that she has walked through the same rooms they're walking through, that her success didn't take her somewhere unreachable, that she's still right there in the feeling with them. In a music industry full of stars who maintain distance as a brand strategy, Billie Eilish closed the distance entirely, and the fans never forgot it. Subscribe. See you in the next one.